Okay, I have a very personal story to share with you today. This was a good few number of years ago. I was listening to Alan Watts and he was talking about spirituality and the fundamental nature of reality. And what he said was something that really caught my attention. He said specifically that there is a fundamental difference in which the way a Western mind interprets the world versus the way an Eastern mind interprets the world. And what he said specifically was that a child born in the Western countries would very casually ask its parents, how was I created? How was I made? While a child born in the Eastern countries, somewhere like India, would never ask its parents this question. It would rather ask its parents that, how did I appear? How did I come about? Now, what he was alluding to was that a Western mind, by definition, within that question, a Western mind implies that there is a creator and that every person is created by that creator, while an Eastern mind implies within the question itself that life is not created, life is a process, it's a flux, and thereby we do not really need to have a creator behind the creation. Now, my mind was blown, partly because of the fact that I'm an Indian guy born to Hindu parents, but I'd never asked my parents these questions. In fact, I was never raised by my parents to be actually thinking about life in this manner. And I'm sure neither my parents, nor my friends, nor the parents of my friends, or anyone that I knew really thought about life in this manner. And that's partly because of the fact that almost everyone I know was born in a post colonial era, and therefore every chance we actually had of the Eastern mind being separate from the Western mind was already gone. It's all muddled, it's all merged right now. So there's no real demarcation between the Eastern mind and the Western mind anymore. Partly that is the reason why I was never even taught about this kind of view of life. Almost everyone around me actually approached spirituality with the creationist angle, and almost everyone was worshipping the god who had created all of life, and that is the god you have to worship, etc. But something very profound that I realized around this time was that the way I had been approaching spirituality and religion up till that point was via this very narrow lens of everything I had seen being practiced and taught in the name of spirituality and religion. And that included all of this. That included the prayers, that included the ablutions, the sacrifices, the rituals, oh man, the rituals. And it included, what should I say? Everything that was done in the name of religion. So you take the stories of all these gods, you taken almost too literally. The different reasons why you should be afraid of this god, the different reasons why you should worship this god on this day, how you can actually please these gods by doing X number of things, how you can secure a safe spot for yourself in the afterlife or in the heaven, etc., etc. All of those things were what I considered to be spirituality and religion. And I'd realized at some point that all of that is and that had made me think that spirituality and religion are all. Now, I was listening to this guy, an American British guy who was talking about Eastern spirituality in this manner, and that actually made me realize that I was coming from a very limited place, because if I had not explored the spirituality that this guy is talking about, how do I come about saying that all of spirituality is because what he was talking about did not really seem like and that was an eye-opening thing. I realized that I had started to consider spirituality and religion to be purely because of the fact that I had seen only bad examples of spirituality and religion being practiced around me. And therefore that gave me the idea that all of this is bull. And in fact, I'll be very honest with you, even now, almost all the spirituality and religion that is practiced all around me is online, offline. This is applicable almost globally. So talk about any religion right now, Hinduism included, Christianity, Islam, Buddhism, Jainism, Sikhism, almost everything that is practiced in the name of these religions is it's because it's almost as far away as possible from the real teachings and from the real core understandings of almost all of those religions, almost as if that we human beings evolved a spiritual mind and a religious mind collectively, and what has remained of that spiritual mind and that religious mind is all of these different rituals, all of these different forms of worship, all of these different superstitions almost, and the core essence of almost all of those teachings, the core essence of almost all of those understandings has almost eroded away from our collective consciousness. And that is why almost everyone who wakes up, almost everyone who starts to see things for how they are, starts to think that spirituality and religion are all. I'm here to tell you that they're not all. Rather, the examples that you're seeing all around you are both. I'm with you on that. But that doesn't mean that the entire spiritual project or the entire religious project itself is there are a lot of merits to spirituality, and by that I do not mean those arguments that spirituality and religion actually teach people to be good people, so it has a lot of moralistic value, it helps people do good things in spite of there being any obvious reason to do them. I'm not giving those kinds of arguments. They exist to some degree, they are the utility of these practices, but that's not what I'm here to talk about today. What I'm trying to tell you is that our collective spiritual mind, religious mind, has cultivated a lot of individual and collective truths about our lives, which if we ignore, which if we start to consider to be, we actually do more self-harm than any utility. I mean, there are a lot of symptoms of this disease that I'm trying to point to here. You see in the modern world the almost sheer virtue of selfishness that we see. Selfishness is almost celebrated as if it is a high virtue, that you have to be more and more selfish, and if you are being selfish, you're actually doing good. That's primarily because we have forgotten how interconnected we are with life. We have forgotten our spiritual truths about our lives and our collective humanity. The meaninglessness epidemic that you would see all around you, people walking around considering that there is no real purpose, there is no real meaning to their lives, and they're almost becoming apathetic to their own lives. They're almost becoming comfortable with the discomfort of living a meaningless life. Now, this is also partly because of the fact that we have collectively almost eroded away our spiritual minds. Now, to get a hold of these ideas, I would highly recommend that you watch two of my past videos. One of them is what I've titled Why You Are Losing Your Soul in the Modern Society. This is a very recent video in which I was talking about how when these spiritual truths go missing from our lives, and what those spiritual truths are, at least some of them, how we end up doing more harm for ourselves. And that's not what any sane person would want, right? The second video that I would recommend you watch is episode 1 of season 2 of my podcast, where I discussed the purpose of life and the two facets of discovering a purpose in your life, being and becoming. And I described in great detail how the being aspect of our purpose in our lives is almost missing from our public discourse right now. It's almost missing from our individual and collective consciousness right now. And that is why the projects that we ascribed to our becomings have also become eroded, because we are almost viewing the world partially, and we're trying to solve a problem which should not exist in the first place. Now then, there is also a second side to this equation. If whatever I had talked about so far was directed towards people who consider spirituality and religion to be bullshit, what I'm about to say is directed towards people who do not. Towards people who are attracted towards the spiritual project and the religious project, even in this day and age. Firstly, thank God that you exist, because otherwise we would have not even had this discussion. But what I want to tell you is that we need to let go of all the bullshit. Almost everyone who is in this side of the scale, almost everyone who is attracted towards the spiritual project, is also almost unwilling to let go of the comes along with that package. And it's high time that we do that, because if we don't, it's almost as if anyone who is reasonable will obviously be repelled by these different elements of our spiritual minds, which we've almost outgrown right now. And now this is true not just for people who are practicing religious and spiritual practices. This is also true for people who are professing them, people who are teachers of these spiritual practices. I mean, there are people running massive podcasts. There are people who are running really impressively followed Instagram pages who spit out spiritual truths. Of course they do. At times they talk about things which are actually fundamentally true. and also actually fundamentally what these spiritual teachings wanted to talk about. But then they supplement that with almost every superstition under the hood. They will talk about, I mean, it's almost as if what I'm trying to say is that there are very few teachers, there are very few gurus right now in the world who are actually able to hold the line between what is true and what is superstitious. Now that line is a very thin line, and it's an emergent line, because there are always going to be things that you have to put under the sacrificial fire of your reason to actually let go of the things that no longer serve us, or that are no longer even true for that matter. And that is my singular piece of advice to everyone who is on this side of the scale. If you're actually interested in the spiritual project, if you're actually interested in the religious projects, it's high time that we evolve, that we actually evolve the essence of the understandings of this mind, this collective mind of ours, to actually stand the test of reason. Because otherwise we are being unreasonable, otherwise we are actually taking with us all the different we could have actually let go at this point. And here's why that matters too. Because you see all the religious tension that exists in different parts of the world right now, not just in India, of course, but almost globally. That is in no small part because of the fact that different spiritual groups, different religious groups are holding their version of the different rituals and the different practices and the different truths for that matter. They are holding their subjective truth package to be the objective truth, to be the objective reality. And they're dismissing away the subjective reality of other people. And it's almost as if we have tied a knot. And if we want to resolve that knot, if we want to open the knot, you can very easily understand that it cannot happen that you keep pulling from one side. It's almost a recipe for disaster. The knot is only going to keep getting tighter. And now imagine you're not just pulling on one side, there is the other side that is pulling on their side too. What do you think will happen? The knot will obviously keep getting tighter. We cannot resolve those conflicts. To actually untie that knot, to actually resolve this conflict, you have to let go of your favorite side of the knot. You have to rise above it. You have to reach the center and try to open it up from there. Now, to let go of this and rise up from it, that is exactly what I'm talking about. You have to drop the bull. Both sides have to do that. It's not that Hindus say that Muslims have to drop it, but we won't drop anything. Why so? There are so many parts of how the Hindu religion is being practiced right now, which are utterly and the same is true for the Islamic religion. The same is true for Muslims. They have to let go of their Once we do that, actually, we can actually hope to untie this knot. Otherwise, it's almost a lost project. And if you think about it, the kind of powers that we have right now throughout the world, in different parts of the world, we have nuclear weapons. I do not really know the truth behind what other kind of powers we have garnered right now as a species. If this power falls in the hands of stupid people, which is most likely already happening, who knows what will happen when once this stupid guy does something which is to his nature stupid. So it's high time that we converge rather than diverge. If we keep holding on to our subjective realities, if we keep holding on to our we will keep diverging. And if we keep diverging, one of the imminent realities that can happen is that there will be no survivor. And I can say for myself, and I think I can say for every reasonable mind out there, that this is not an end result that anyone wants. And therefore, I feel this is one of the key projects of our time almost, to pick up the thread left by our ancestors, our common ancestors, to pick up the thread left by them, to extract the essence of the spiritual mind that our ancestors and us together have cultivated and build from it, which will require us to drop off all the comes along with it. So if you are someone who actually considers spirituality to be bull, realize that you're not alone and you're not wrong in that sense. It is almost a symptom of our collective consciousness rising out of the bad path that our spiritual mind has taken. And therefore it matters. It matters that you consider spirituality to be bull. But what also matters is you supplement that idea with the fact that not all of spirituality is bull. And if this project interests you, actually help us steer towards a better spirituality. And to anyone who considers that spirituality is not, again, thank God that you exist. But now is the time to actually drop off all the different all the different comes along with the inheritance of this beautiful spiritual mind that our ancestors have cultivated. But we simply cannot take the baggage anymore. We cannot take the baggage of our subjective truths, of our subjective falsehoods for that matter, together with us. We have to extract the essence, the real nectar out of that entire mind and take it forward. And this is the project of spirituality going forward. I think this video of mine is my first attempt towards almost lighting the fire towards that project. And here's how you can actually help me in this project. First of all, if you have not subscribed to this channel, of course, subscribe. If you haven't subscribed to my newsletter yet, make sure you subscribe to the newsletter, because there will be a lot more content coming in this direction of converging our subjective realities into an objective reality, into multiple objective realities going forward. Not the least of them on YouTube, but there will be a lot of content coming around my newsletter as well. Maybe some in the form of some courses or some books. So I will be sharing updates on them on this channel and also on my newsletter. So make sure you're subscribed to both of them. And the easiest, no cost way of actually helping out this kind of a project is by sharing this content. So either this video or this channel or any other video on this channel, make sure that you share it in your WhatsApp stories, in your Instagram stories, on your LinkedIn page, in your Substack, wherever you think you can share this, wherever people are hanging out. Just share this kind of a video, just share this kind of content, because authentic word of mouth is probably the only way how a different content such as this can actually reach the home pages of different viewers. So by that, I would also recommend that if you subscribe to this channel, make sure you also turn on the notifications icon, so that every time I publish a new video, it actually reaches you directly, rather than having to go through the filter of the different recommendation algorithms that all of these different companies run these days, which actually almost makes the subscribe button useless. But I find it to be a powerful tool anyway. So make sure you subscribe to the channel, make sure you turn on the notifications, make sure you subscribe to my newsletter, make sure you share this video or this channel with your community, and I'll see you in the playground soon again. Until next time, peace out.